One of the things about Robert Hunter is that he has the ability to spin a line that's very memorable.
So good.
And it's like a one-liner that becomes like bigger or as big as the song itself, and then kind of carries on, as like an anthemic thing. And it's not just one line in some of his songs, it's many lines that become like a storybook of the progression of a band like the Grateful Dead, And it was just, he really is like a member of the band,
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't see him on the stage.
Right.
But you do. You see his work on the stage.
His lyrics are just so potent. There's lines in the song that are just like so iconic that it just elevates the song to me.
It's such a good song. It's so full of imagery. It's just heavy with it. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
What's one of your favorite lines?
Well, I can't get this out of my head, so let me get this out of my head, and then I can tell you one of my favorite lines. I read that Box of Rain, because I was like, what the heck what is Box of Rain? I think it's lovely, it's poetic, but it's the world we live in. And he said Ball of Rain just didn't ring right. So he said Box of Rain, so it's the planet.
Yeah,
it's
it
the
always
Earth.
reminds, for whatever reason, Box of Rain reminds me of the Morton Salt Girl with the umbrella.
All right.
But instead of salt being in there, it'd be rain.
Actual
like
rain,
you could sprinkle it like almost like a watering can.
I imagined when I was imagining, because I imagined the story in my head, is a literal like juice box. But a touch bigger, like maybe a chicken broth box sort of size that somebody just set on the windowsill, and it's like, why is that there? But I like, let me see, there's so many lines in this song that I love. So lyrically, I think the entire first verse, but specifically Look Out of Any Window, because I think, and I don't know if Hunter meant it this way, but I've heard all through my life that eyes are the window to the soul. So it's like, look out of any window. And he says later, look out of any eyes. So I think is the window, you're looking out of from anyone's perspective, any morning, any evening, any day. So you're looking through someone's lens of experience.
To me, the song, it doesn't have a concrete meaning in my mind, but I've always loved it. I think
that's what's beautiful about it, though, yeah.
It's one of my early favorite Grateful Dead songs. And I have a very loose grasp of what I think it's about. So it's not like you can say, but I think it's less structured in meaning than I think a lot of songs tend to be, and I think you're onto something with the eyes and the window of the soul. And to me, it just gives a feeling of, open your eyes, be perceptive, take in the world. Life's not long, soak it in while you got the chance.
Well, I think part of the reason...
That's the general feeling I get.
From the reading material that I've gone through, I think part of the song was for somebody who is transitioning from life through their passing. And so it was... I think maybe helpful for the people that were helping them to transition. And because when some people, they have that, we've talked about it before, they have the long goodbye, and some people have a tragically short goodbye. And I think when you know that death is on the way to knock on the door, it's a different sort of feeling that you get knowing that it's impending. And having that time and that space to be able to acknowledge the impact of that person's life and their spirit on your spirit. I think it has something to do with that. And a lot of people have referenced Philesh's dad and his passing. And Phil actually sang this song. And I think I don't know if he and Hunter actually worked together while the lyrics were being composed, or if it was the musical composition came after the lyrical composition or what. But knowing that that might have been some of the context for it just makes it even more, you can kind of see, if you're looking at the story, the lyrics through that story lens, you can see it, and it's really impactful, I think.
Also, I mean, I think if you think of it through that lens and you kind of think of a metaphor of rain being like the tears that we shed in the box that we store them in, it also it gives
I didn't even think of that. That's beautiful.
It gives it a different meaning as well. I've thought of that in the past about this song, and it's definitely a introspective song, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
So, just one in the many.
Such a good song. It's just a beautiful
heavy lyrical
song.
content songs of Robert Hunter, and we tend to think of the Hunter Garcia connection. You know? But Chris, he wrote a lot of songs with Jerry, but he also did write songs with Bob and Phil. But then towards after, and that was more in the beginning, and then gravitated. I think Jerry and he had a natural working relationship that worked pretty well. So I know at one point it was funny because he used to say, "I don't want to work with Bob because he always changed my lyrics." but then Jerry was also known to change certain lyrics too. So
well, I think it's different too if you're working with somebody and you're working closely during that composition phase of the song, and you're being their sounding board, and you're they're, I don't know what other word, but complicit in the changing of the lyrics. It's like, yeah, that works better, or that sounds better, or I'm okay with that. Versus, you've forgotten my lyrics and sung different ones, and now those are the lyrics.
Right.
Why did that happen?
Why'd that happen?
Yeah, why did that happen? So there's a difference between being at the drawing board, with a marker in hand also. Buddy, no. So, yeah. Yeah, I think there's a difference. But I also don't know that Bob wasn't at the drawing board too. I don't know.
I'm not sure how they worked, and because I know that we write together, and it's never the same even with just us, but it is it's hard enough with two people that are in close connection to complete a song. And also because we know that we're on the same team. We're trying to come to the same end point, we have the same goal in mind, and it's still hard to get there sometimes. I do believe that the way that Hunter and Garcia worked is that Hunter would write all the lyrics, and then Jerry would take it and force it into a song, basically. Or like come up with the melody and chord structure. But sometimes I think Hunter might have Stevie Nicks melody. And Lindsey Buckingham did some of that too. Like Stevie Nicks would wake up and write these dreams down, and sometimes did not even amend them to a rhyme scheme or anything, and was like, we're stuffing this in the body of a song. Well, and a lot in the beginning of our writing, when you played very minimal guitar. I still play very minimal guitar. But like even less when you were writing. You wrote more lyrics, and then you would, you and I would work together, and you'd find a melody that worked over progressions that I would come up with and changes, and we'd work together. And not until recently, or a couple album before last, have you sat down and wrote, more start to finish. Like kind of fleshed out the song. Fleshed out a song, and then you bring it to me and say, hey, help make it better. Pretty. Make it better. I feel like I had a skeleton of the chord progression, and it needed meat on the bones. It wasn't done. It was obviously clumsy, and like bringing it to you was because, like I was saying, we have that same end goal in mind. We want something beautiful that is going to touch somebody. It's interesting to me. There's a couple of interesting things about the way the music industry works on the writing side of things. One, people that say, hey, let's get together and write. That's kind of foreign to me, because I tend to think of it, there's more like this creativity, a muse, if you will, and you have to tap into it, and it's not just something that you can, handily grab. Now, people say that inspiration shows up if you show up first. You show up first, and there's some truth to that as well. But there's a practicing an art. Yeah.
There's you practicing your
I think
talent.
you practice your art though, so that when it shows up, you can capture it to its full extent.
Yeah, because there's it's like
so song.
People refer to it as an X factor within people, but I think within inspiration, there's also this X factor. And if you are, for instance, I read a lot. Part of the reason I like to read a lot is because I want a grasp of vernacular, of vocabulary, so that I have words at my command when I want them in order to craft a story, right? Nice. In the body of a song. Because really, like, I like to read tomes of books, like 1,000-page novels. I enjoy a lot. A song's not going to be 1,000 pages, much less 1,000 words. You have to be really succinct and be able to tell your story in this much space where the story actually envelops a lot of emotional content a lot of times. And I think that the melody lends to the telling of the story. For instance, if I were to read that 1,000-page book with a soundtrack attached to it, we've got a movie on our hands at that point, right?
Of course.
So, but all that I say is by reading, that's part of me adding to my toolbox so that when the muse does strike, when that extra thing comes into play, I'm able to pull out the tools that I need in order to craft.
And I will say this, I don't think that one is better than the other, because we've written songs that take minutes to write.
Yeah.
And we've written songs that take years to write.
Literal years.
And I wouldn't say that one's better than the other.
Me neither. Well, would you say, and I don't know the time frame for these things, would you say an elephant is better than a kangaroo?
Of course not.
No, they're different, right? So the gestation period for those baby elephants and baby kangaroos, it's a different time frame. Baby humans, we all take a different time, and I feel like songs are like that. Some of them need to be in the womb a little longer.
Right?
Yeah,
it mimics.
Some of them aren't ready for the world.
Artistic creation mimics physical creation in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that's why humans, this is maybe getting a little off the track for today, but that's why humans find such beauty in artistic creation, because they're mimicking a greater creation, right?
Right.
They're like, one of the only ways that from where nothing we can make something.
Right.
Yeah. And that's powerful. So with that power comes a lot of expression.
Right. I find one of the most inspirational things, and this may seem like an oxymoron, I guess, or a paradox of some sort, but one of the most inspirational things is a blank page, a clean sheet of paper, and a good pen, because it is just waiting.
It's begging to be written upon, right?
Yeah.
Or drawn upon.
Yeah. There's something so beautiful and intriguing about that first, that moment right before it's
and I think
begun
that
to be
our
filled.
art and that creation is at our core, because how else do you explain, like, if you're on the phone and you're kind of mindless and you flip over an envelope and it's blank and there's a pen nearby, what do?
You doodle on it.
You do.
That's what I do.
It's in our nature.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's art. Art's all around us.